Printers are the absolute bane of existence for IT in basic help desk positions, networking, as well as in general cybersecurity for a myriad of reasons. These pieces of technology were from a bygone era, which while they have iterated since the dot matrix days when we had them literally go all the way up to going from a dedicated printer port on your computer to USB to now networking, they still are one of the most problematic pieces of technology that everyone probably has fantasized about reenacting that scene from Office Space, the cult classic from a little over 20 years ago, that they take their printer out back and beat it with a baseball bat and maybe curb stomp it as well. That is the issue that you have with a lot of printers. They just don't want to work, from the PC load letter, WTF moment, what is going on with this, all the way up to your networking people that maybe are trying to implement 802.1x for network security and finding out your printers, despite them being relatively new, are still not supporting technology that is a little over a decade and should be easily implemented at this point. Now we have the issue in terms of cybersecurity, another printer vulnerability relating to the common Unix printing system, aka CUPS, which was a package originally designed by Apple so that Unix-like operating systems like OS X from Mac, as well as Linux, could be able to have the capability to print, because printing has been a bane of existence in terms of hardware for many years inside of Linux until CUPS got really refined for many different ways, and many different manufacturers, such as HP, have, of course, worked to get this working. We have HP Linux Image and Print, which is one of the reasons why HP printers work so well with Linux. They just kind of just see it on the network and they just work. But be that as it may, there is a vulnerability right now that is ranked as a 9.9, and it looks like the embargo has been lifted, so we have some more details. But as of right now, it looks like it's pretty much been patched, because I did an apt update, apt upgrade on my Pop OS, and I noticed that right away was CUPS, CUPS BSD, CUPS Client, CUPS Common, CUPS Core Drivers, CUPS Daemon, CUPS IPP Utils, CUPS PPDC, CUPS Server Common, and libcups 2, as well as libcups image 2, are all getting package updates today. So this may have already been potentially patched, but I do know that it is a bit of a doozy if your system isn't patched. So while it is a serious exploit, patch your systems. Just do it. I know when it comes to my Linux systems, I'm going to be going about and patching them at work immediately and moving up our regular patching schedule for that kind of thing. But also, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to see more of my content, as well as check out all of my other social media down in the links below. And first, let's get talking a little bit about coding with. Codecrafters is an amazing platform for you to hone and improve your software development skills, allowing you to have challenges in all sorts of programming languages to build your own Redis server, build your own HTTP server, build your own interpreter, or, even build your own Git. You can basically remake a lot of popular projects out there running all sorts of languages. Just looking at this list here, they have Rust, Go, Python, C, C#, C++, Clojure, Crystal, Dart, Elixir, and the list goes on from there. So check out Codecrafters today in the link below and go and hone your software development skills. I know I'm going to be tinkering with them myself quite a bit. Now, as I've mentioned, printers have just kind of been that technology that everyone side-eyes and kind of expects to work. Cybersecurity hasn't really been a consideration with it. There's a little bit of truth to the joke about tech enthusiasts have everything with technology in their house. Everything is Bluetooth connected. I have a smart TV, a smart fridge, and all of that. And cybersecurity people, well, they have a gun next to their printer in case it makes any funny noises. There's a little bit of truth to that, because we look at our printers as, yeah, we use a printer. We don't trust the printer. And printers have been around actually longer than the dot matrix days. I was looking this up. They've been around since the 1950s, when I think it was Remington Rand actually created the first high-speed printer for the UNIVAC computer. 1950s, like we're talking like the entire computer was the size of this entire room, back to the bar and everything. That's how long printers have been around. And cybersecurity has really only started coming into its own in, I would say, around the 1990s, but it's only really started to become the cool thing that everyone considers around the 2010s, and now is when people are actually considering the security around all of these different systems. So, to sum up the current vulnerability going on right now, a remote unauthenticated attacker can silently replace existing printers or install new ones, IPP URLs with a malicious one, resulting in arbitrary command execution on the computer when a print job is started from that computer. Doesn't sound like a really great thing to have, does it? Well, these are officially labeled as CVE 2024-47176 and CVE 2024-47076, as well as CVE 2024-47175 and CVE 2024-47177. And those are the ones that have been assigned around those CUPS issues, and there are also several other bugs that are more or less exploitable on top of it. Yay! And I already see some of you getting on your high horse right now. This is why Linux isn't gonna be good for desktops and all that. Don't get on that high horse there, because if you do a little bit of Googling, you'll see that Windows has had their fair share of printer-related exploits. Like I've said, this has just been a horrible technology overall in terms of cybersecurity that we just expect it to work. If your printer works, great. But the security around these devices has really been not only an afterthought, it hasn't even been a thought for many years. HP is one of the few manufacturers that still gives firmware updates for their printers after the fact because of security issues with their printers, because I've seen vulnerabilities where we have literally had a network compromised because a virus and other malicious software was sent through dial-up, broke through the printer because there was no firewall between the dial-up side of things and the networking side of things, and then compromised an entire network. That's right. You got mail, you got viruses, the old-fashioned AOL connection. Yes, I just did a whole sounding out of the guy that did Police Academy with dial-up right there. But that is the reality of things, is that these printers are not designed for security, and printer manufacturers, as well as the people around the systems for the printers in Windows and Linux, as well as Mac, have to take extra care and attention to these systems and start looking into the vulnerabilities thereof, because cybersecurity, well, let's just put it this way. We have to be right every single time. They only have to be right once. The fact of the matter is that CUPS isn't just used in Linux and Mac. It's also used in some BSDs, Berkeley software distributions, Oracle Solaris, Google ChromeOS, and others. I'd even suspect that it's actually used in Android, because Android is a Linux-based operating system. And possibly, depending on how Apple implemented it, I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of how Apple iOS does things. I could be wrong. So a security researcher by the name of Simone Margatelli, I hope I said that name right, is the person that had discovered this vulnerability, and they wrote up an entire post discussing this entire attack, how it works, and of course what can be done to prevent these kind of attacks. I'm going to go over the highlights here, but basically there's 4 different things that have to do with this entire attack, and thus there are 4 different CVEs. You've got 47176 CUPS Browse D, you got 47076 with libcups filters, and you got 47175 libppd and 47177 cups filters, and all of these basically allow you to have a massive attack that, as mentioned earlier, a remote unauthenticated attacker can silently replace existing printers or install new ones, IPP URLs with a malicious one, resulting in arbitrary command execution on the computer when a print job is started from that computer. And there's a couple of entry points. So you have the WAN/public internet. A remote attacker sends a UDP packet to port 631 with no authentication whatsoever. On the LAN, a local attacker can spoof zeroconf MDNS/DNS-SD advertisements and achieve the same code path leading to the remote control execution. Now, what kind of made me laugh when I was reading through this entire article here was the cybersecurity researcher, when they had disclosed this, apparently had comments from the guy who literally wrote the book about CUPS, trying to explain to him why this is not so bad. Quote, "I am just pointing out that the public internet attack is limited to servers that are directly connected to the internet," end quote. Big brain move there, buddy. Seeing as Linux is predominantly the OS that is connecting all servers to the internet, and most pre-installed distributions have, well, cups pre-installed on them, that is a pretty big issue here. Like, I'm not joking. I know so many different servers out there in just where I work and where I've worked prior that are using Red Hat, Ubuntu, and we're using an off-the-shelf installation, and very often, Cups is one of those packages that is just in the operating system out the box, because most people are assuming that you're gonna probably wanting to be printing things. It's a thing businesses like to do. So as far as remediation, what do you have to do? Well, pretty simply, update your entire Linux system. You should be doing that anyway. So do that, but also disable and remove the Cups Browse D service if you don't need it. You probably don't unless you're actually hosting some things there. I should note that by disabling Cups Browse D, you will disable your Linux box from automatically just adding printers that are on your network, so you will have to manually add your printers from here on out if you do disable that. And in case your system, for some reason, can't be updated and you're running an archaic version of an operating system like CentOS 7, and for some reason you do rely on this service, just block all traffic to UDP port 631 and possibly all DNS SD traffic. And yeah, have good luck with that if you're using zeroconf. But anyway, it's a pretty simple remediation. Yes, it is a severe issue, but I think it's also being blown out of proportion in how bad this is for Linux overall. As I mentioned, Windows has had printer system issues in the past, and there's probably going to be more in the future because printers, well, they're just horrible. I mean, like I said, cybersecurity and security-conscious people keep a gun next to their printer in case it makes any funny noises. You know, the joke, I laughed, she laughed, the toaster laughed, I shot the toaster. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a joke, but when it comes to printers, is it really? Anyway, stay safe out there. Happy hacking. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get more of my content as well, and check out all of my other social media. Have a great day.